Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hot Takes podcast, where we are always humble, open, and transparent. I have a gift for you today. One new friend, Facebook groups, our wonderful, wonderful world to live in. And I have my friend Jaco visiting us from California. He woke up early for you this morning. And so I'll let him introduce himself and then we'll get rolling. Jaco, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good, Lawrence. Good morning. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to be here. Yeah, it is morning in California. And I don't know if the listeners and the viewers can see the video of this. Is this recorded on video as well?
It is.
Then you'll see my hair. You'll see my hair is sticking out to the side. But you know what? I think I did a pretty good job.
Yeah, you did a great job.
Clean up this morning. I'm Jaco. Hi, everybody. I'm originally from South Africa. Born and raised, lived there for 26 years of my life. Studied enology and viticulture, which is the study of wine and the vine. I'm a winemaker. Traveled the world making wine everywhere. And then I met my wife while I was making wine in Northern California, in a small town called Fiddletown. Fiddletown's got a population of 18 people. So it was quite fun meeting her there. And then we ended up in Los Angeles and we opened up a winery just outside of Los Angeles last season. We're heading into our second harvest season right now.
That's awesome, man. Well, we reached that when we connected on Facebook and we were looking for podcast guests. What in the message of the Hot Takes podcast connected to you?
Hey, I mean, I first of all, I love the concept. Kind of digging deeper, self-improvement. And the one word that stuck out for me was being humble. You know, what keeps you humble and all that kind of stuff. And in the wine world, I feel like that is a big essence that's missing in a sense. You either drink wine for drinking, or you're experiencing it to enjoy it. And if you're drinking it to drink it, that's fine. I mean, you just go about your day and stuff. But if you're on the other side of the spectrum, I feel like there's a big essence there of just being snobbish, being intimidating, being, looking down on people. And there's a message here where I felt like, there's that doesn't need to be. We can change that. And it's kind of weird because you think about it as like, okay, well, are we going to find this in the wine world? I mean, we find this in every single aspect of life. My forte is just specifically the wine world, where I'm trying to change minds and views on people and make it inclusive instead of exclusive.
So that
concept, if that makes sense. I mean,
no, that makes perfect sense. And I love that regardless of industry, the same human factors begin to show up in the world we live in today. And you used a word that has been a very sexy word over the past year, but rarely has been implemented very thoroughly, or even people have done deep work, and that's that inclusion. Tell me about how you act out every day in an inclusive way.
My inclusivity, a big part of it came from a previous job that I had where I was a general manager. Just as I came to California, and straight from South Africa, having to immediately at that point leave the winemaking. So I came into a position where I was working for a company where, and they were all about inclusivity and not exclusivity. And that's my first real step coming in there. You can imagine, growing up in South Africa, there, the Rainbow Nation, you can, I don't know, familiar with the country and all that kind of stuff. And, but in a sense, it's a very exclusive country in the sense of, you've got white, you've got black, you got, brown, you got 11 national languages. How many national languages do we have in Germany? 1. Spain, 1. America, 1, right? 11. I only speak 2, so how inclusive is that? That I don't understand. Think about this. I don't understand. I mean, how much, like 70% of my country's population's first language. And I don't know where 70% is coming from, but I'm assuming it's something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I really took to that. And sometimes I feel like we live our life not even understanding or knowing how exclusive we really live our lives. Your question to answer that is how I do it is like I really started taking a look at myself and in that sense and saying, well, how am I being inclusive? Obviously, what I'm doing is I'm really trying to break down the ice in the forefront here of saying, you know what, in the wine world, and I'll keep it specific to my work life right now, is we have our monthly club. We drink wine every month, and we have people in. And I decided this club is for any wine drinker, but I decided for, I don't want any wine drinker, even though that sounds exclusive. I want people that feel excluded. I want people that is new. And so giving people a voice, saying, okay, you know what, if you don't have to be scared, you don't have to be intimidated. So I check in with myself on that level. And as I started it out, I started building on top of that, which was pretty amazing, because there was a good response, because people needed it. If you think about inclusive, just my personal life, I am, if I can make a new friend, I would, regardless of, and this is not something that you consciously do. And that's what I'm trying to get across, coming from South Africa. And I'm not blaming everything on South Africa, but I have such good African-American friends. I've got such good gay friends now that would have not been the case really if I just stayed my path in South Africa. I know it's a hard thing to say, but we're here to be vulnerable, and that's the case. And that's another sense of inclusivity, that you just, and it's not a thing that you're trying not to be friends or anything with. This is just this, it's not part of your life until you open your eyes and see, like, wow, yes, there's so much more out there that the world can offer me if I just open my eyes, and if I just include more people to improve my own life with.
Man, I love that. Because one of the things that I always talk to coaching clients about, or new business partners, and as we begin to develop a relationship, I get to the person, right? I get to the process that you've taken in life, and I'm always curious around that internal work, that self work, because I believe the first person we need to lead is ourselves before we can ever attempt to lead any group of people towards any change, any sustainable type of action or change in behavior. We have to be the model, right? The quote is, be the change you want to see in the world. And I believe that carries over. And I believe that's something that we got to chop at every single day, because so many things are pulling at us for our attention, for our love, for our time, for our resources. And so, Jaco, how do you check in with yourself and keep yourself on task and on point?
Well, I'll show you, Lawrence. Yeah. So yesterday last night, it came yesterday, I got my new start off my little planner. Yeah. That's one of the ways. And it goes by the half an hour. You can see your podcast. Your podcast was the very first thing I filled in. So I'm pretty proud of it. But no, I keep myself on track in a physical way, in that sense, just kind of like timing out, like, what am I supposed to do when in the day? But obviously that's the mental way for me, keeping myself on track, which is with far greater responsibility and especially impact on what we're doing, is I started to meditate every morning. I started to take, and I'm doing it not from myself and my own essence. I'm doing it from if your listeners do Audible, I don't know if you like audiobooks or Audible, this is a great thing. It's for free. And this is the whole range of, like, I don't know if you still get it, but meditations. And so it's a guided meditation. Some is 15, some is 8, some is 20 minutes. And I do that every morning. And there's about 30 of them. So I cycle through them one a month, for them. And that has, I cannot explain to you how much that has changed my life, in a sense where I am getting up in the morning. I eat real quick. I don't really put a lot of effort into my breakfast. I just want to get food in so I can get going. I drink a ton of water, brush my teeth, make my bed. And then the first thing I do, and I don't always do it, but like 80% of the time, I do that. And to be able to put your mind into place and just kind of calm down, because there might be anxiety for a thing you have to be on, or something if you do, or a life tasting or whatever. And to be able to sit there and say, you know what, everything's okay. Taking a few deep breaths and kind of organizing your mind before your day even starts. Because if I feel like if you start the day, with your mind all over the place, your day's going to end up being like that as well. You start with your day, you're not making your bed, you're going to get out in the bed later at night, and it's going to be all wrinkly and not nice and crisp and ugly and kind of gross, right? So, I mean, you were in the army, you would know, you make your bed probably well every day. So
yeah, well, not since I've been out. I'm gonna tell on myself. I'm getting back to that place, and it's funny you say that, particularly around meditation and centering yourself, and making sure that you clear your mind and you begin to do some of that breath work. And shout out to one of my buddies, Dylon, who is huge on meditation and breath work, just from a perspective of clearing your mind, clearing your head at the beginning of your day. And this morning, I probably spent the first 40 minutes and didn't make my bed. I went straight downstairs, let the dog out, and I got to it. And
but did you let the dog out, or did you actually you let the dogs out and you just made your bed and went for it?
Just went for it, right? So I was like, I felt in my body, I was like, you need to get center, right? I looked at calendar, had my stuff all plotted out, just like you, had my stuff all plotted out for the day, checked it. I was like, all right, got Jaco first thing in the morning. And I was like, I need to make sure I'm ready for him, I'm present for him, and I show up for him. And so I was like, okay, I need to connect, right? And so as we think about how we process life, right? You're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you're a husband, you're a friend, brother, son. How do you keep the priorities of life straight, right? Outside of the book, right? The planners are nice, right? The planners are nice tools.
Well, I've only had it one day, so we'll see. But yeah,
there we go. Well, how do you keep it all straight, right? Because if the phone rings right now and something happens at the winery or something like that, who is it, you, or does it fall to someone else to take care of those things? Like, how do you manage what's priority in your life?
So it's just in a physical way, like me running this winery, it's all me. There's nobody else. So because we're pretty small and we're growing, but I partnered actually with a brewery, which is a massive brewery, and so a third of the space of my winery. So there's other people, but so in that sense, just in a physical way, like if something happens in the winery, there's someone there. But if it's everything to do with the wine, I'm going to fix it. I'm doing that. I'm running a business from my home with my wife. So she's the other half of this online school that I have. And as far as being a husband, that's obviously, my responsibility, and the son and the kid and all that kind of stuff. So, there's no team, I would say right now from my corner of side. I don't have a team of people doing stuff for me, but there is resources that I'm using. And I think, how do I balance these priorities? I think you said it a while ago. You said, you were going to be present and you were going to show up for me. So yeah, other than physically paying, you have to decide, like, if something is happening at the winery right now, like that's my livelihood in a big sense. And if I had to be on a podcast or something like that, if something is happening at the winery, is it really that bad that I can't do the podcast, or is the place burning down? Do you know what I mean? And I don't think the place is going to be burning down. So then you just have to understand, well, what is, for me, what is most important? And it's not just about most important. You have to go deeper than that. You have to ask, well, why is it more important to you? Is it more important to you because of money? Is it more important to you because of love? Is it more important to you because of your time is precious to you? What makes something more important to you? What makes something a priority for you? And I think people just sometimes stop in the essence of, it's my job is my priority. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to put that first, or maybe my family is a priority. I'm going to put that first. There's nothing wrong or right about it, but why is your family a priority? Mm-hmm. Is it love? Is it because, is your wife a priority because she's got $10 billion in the bank and you want to make sure that she's your sugar mama? Or is it because of love? You know what I mean? Is your job a priority because of money or because your love of work? And so I think I figured that out for myself. Like, we spend a ton of time. I think the biggest thing that I balance in my life is my wife. Time with her is so important to me. The day that I met her in this small town called Fiddletown, the day that I met her in this tiny town, they were passing through. They were doing a Western movie because it's an old Western gold mining town. Okay, there 80,000 people back in the 1800s. Today, 18, right? In wine country. And I was living in by myself, a South African. I wasn't moving to America. I was just doing a harvest season here. And I loved it. And I loved that life. It was so small. There's nothing around. And just like, I was a cowboy kind of thing. But this came through in this shot of Western film. And she was she started costume design at Ohio State. So she was working in the costumes. Yeah. She's American. And so 2 weeks before I met her that day, she found out she was diagnosed with cancer. She was Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer. And so, we didn't talk much after. We didn't talk at all afterwards. We only started connecting again because we became Facebook friends. It's in 2009, and we started talking over Facebook. And that way we just kind of started hanging out and started Skyping. That time it was still Skyped.
Yeah.
And at some point, as she was, because after the season, I went to work in Aspen. I also skied in Aspen for 3 seasons. I worked there because it's like good money for South Africans and all that kind of stuff. And it's fun. And I've never seen snow in my life. So that was the 3rd time that I've worked in Aspen. And so I said, why don't you come visit me? And I'm so stupid. I'm just like young, she's going through chemo. She's going through chemo, and she's like a 95-pound, girl, like normally. She's very tiny. And it's like, yeah, okay. So she had a chemo treatment. And 1 week she feels really awful and bad. And then the next week she came and visited me, and she did that twice. Wow. And so that is someone I want to show up for. That is someone that is a priority for me. And we've always been married now for 10 years coming up. And that's my priority in that sense. So we make sure that when we go for an hour and a half walk every night, we make sure that we watch a nice story every night while we have dinner, together. Mm-hmm. We obviously work together as well. So that's also another challenging thing. It can be, because working with your wife is a whole different discussion. Mm-hmm. But you need to balance that and not be mean, not be rude, not be short. It doesn't matter what the situation might be or what you're talking about, because everybody's got things they struggle with.
That's awesome, man. And I shout out to your wife being a Buckeye. I am as well. So scarlet and gray. That's my colors. But
she's got such a big smile on her face right now. It's ridiculous.
We can talk about Buckeyes all day. But anyway, I love the fact that in this season of life, one thing that has been apparent across any of the communities that I'm a part of is what's important to us is floating to the top. The priority list is reshuffling. And what I believe is causing it is people are tapping into the true value of themselves and the value of family and what it actually means to all of us. The definition is becoming very, very clear. And I love that you said from the beginning, it was the relationship, the building, the connection that causes that love to come up for you, and just your description of what it looked like in action, right? She's going through what some would consider a life-altering, life-shifting event in her life, and so grateful that she was strong and made it through. And for you all to be in this place where you're business owners together, your family, your parents together, and having all this life lived, that's what it's about. And that why, right? You described in so much color in your words, your why, and your family being most important to you, and the reason why you do what you do. And again, we are not our profession. We're people.
Yeah, very true.
Have talents and skills and other stuff, right? We're people. We're squishy. We're complex. We're all these things. And if you had to give someone who they're in it, right? They believe their job is their priority. How did you get to the place where you are today? Said, you know what? I am not my position description, but I'm a person who does a thing. Right? How did you get to that place?
It must be self-reflection. I found that to be so valuable. If you think about yesterday, first of all, this is an awesome podcast. This is such a valuable resource to me and to your listeners. Well done, dude. Well done. Anyways, I just feel like I need to say that right now. And so I feel like people, to get back to your question, people are like firecrackers. Like, oh my gosh. Yes, we are very moldable. I very much agree with that, and we're shapeable, but that's the whole thing. We are that. We are that. Are we utilizing that though? I don't know. You come up in a certain shape, and you're a piece of. Let's say you are a piece of clay, and you're in this piece of in your shape. So, are you reflecting on your past? Are you reflecting on your day, on what you just did, the conversation that you just had? And are you shaping out the mold and kind of patting up the clay? That's because you don't want to be there. And I'm using a figurative obviously now. or you show up in this mold of clay and you're this shape and you just stay that shape. You're not changing. And I think for a long time, the longest time, like I don't know what the hell I was doing, and just in life. Like I finished studying winemaking. I made wine across the world. Amazing. I didn't care for a girlfriend or wife. I just lived life, not because I just didn't care. And not that the girlfriend and the wife really can, doesn't need to change that. But the point is, like, it's not until I started getting that groundedness or not even the groundedness that led to the awareness that maybe I need to just take a look at myself. And something that my wife and I we try to do is really, it's weird. It's probably going to sound super pretentious, but we really want to be better people. I don't feel you're ever going to be a great person in the sense of like, yes, I've reached that goal. Yes, now I am a good person. Yeah, we can change on every asset of life. Even our marriage, obviously, there's got so much work that needs to happen there in life. Driving on the freeway. Like, am I really going to let this person cutting me off get mad at me and start getting mad at them? What the hell is that going to help me or them?
Yep.
And so just that self-reflection, I think being able to just look at yourself and saying, okay, if I am shapeable, if I'm moldable, if I am able to actually improve, then how am I going to do that? And the biggest issue I have with that, Lawrence, is that, and I wonder if your viewers and your listeners agree, and obviously they need to comment and let me know, because I'm gonna check this for this episode. I'm super excited. Is we get people, and maybe this is wrong, and I need you to tell me if it is, that goes through life that don't see that they are what they are. They're not willing to change, and it is frustrating to me. And those are the people in life that I find I'm excluding.
Yeah.
Right. If something doesn't work for you, you need to let it go. I don't know if that's right or wrong, because I'm not about exclusion.
Yeah.
In the wine world, But when it comes to my own happiness, my own love, my own life, the life is short kind of thing. Like, are we gonna? And this is a question for you. Do we just take everything at face value and just accept it and like involve it in life, or do we say, you know what, this is not furthering me in life. I'm gonna cut this out.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of things, and thank you for the self-reflection part of it, because I believe in those moments of self-reflection, if your intention is to gather awareness, I think going into self-reflection, meditation, anything like that, it's not just blind, nothingness when you're in these meditation moments. I believe every time you set that intention to go into that space, you're gathering information about yourself. You're furthering and deepening your awareness of what's going on inside of you, the breathing, is something off? Why is it off? And I think even in those moments, you just you increase your ability to be present in those moments of self-reflection. And I think that's your scorecard. We need to reflect on what's happening in our lives and then question it. And like you said, even in marriage, a relationship, one of the closest relationships, if you have a spouse or you are living with someone, to reflect on where you've come from to where you are today. Me and my wife hit 16 years back in May, and we don't know half of what we thought we knew about each other after 16 years. Exactly. And, our parents who are, 40th anniversaries, they're the same way. They're, 60, 70, still learning stuff about each other because we're evolving. It's constant. And I believe when people don't step up to evolution, to change, you're literally signing yourself up to not progress in life. And those people, yes, I exclude. I give them the opportunity. And as a coach, I always tell my clients, I have an expectation when you come to a session. I have an expectation that I'm going to show up for you. My expectation of you is you to show up to do work, because this is your session. And if you're not showing up to do work for you, there's nothing as your coach I can do for you. I can't help. I can't ask. And I love in coaching world, they call it powerful questions. I believe when you don't give and you don't show up, you limit and mitigate my ability to ask you a necessary question. And I believe that's the part of it, of where reflection comes from, is, are we working on the right work and asking ourselves the necessary questions to move and progress through life. And so I'm with you, Jaco. I'm with you. I give you the benefit of the doubt. I prep you with a question. I get real curious. And when you do the wall, I say something to the effect of, you know what? That makes sense for you right now. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you sit with that. And when you're ready, I'll be available. I never shut the door.
Yeah.
I never shut the
Okay.
door. They keep it closed on their end.
Got
My
it. You know
door is
what?
always open.
That's what my mom used to tells
Yeah.
me, and she's always said this thing where, yeah, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter what you're doing in life, but she always said, keep your side clean.
Yep.
If as long as your side is clean, you can go through life not worrying. So that means that
Yep.
you don't end it on a bad note. If they want to end it on a bad note, then that's fine. If they choose to not, do that, engage or whatever, it's fine. But what you just told me and what you just said, I guess for me, it boils down to the fact that if you aren't willing as a human being,
boom,
to reflect on yourself, like you said, just a scorecard, like, man, then I mean, would you say that's then is that for your listeners, is that the groundwork? That's where we start. It's a scorecard. But if you miss the essence of reflecting, which I did for a very long time, because who cares? You're young. You're going for university, you're partying and doing, like, who cares? You're not hurting anybody, even though you are probably in any way, or you don't need to be a better person because you don't need, I'm hashing it out. Like, you don't really need to keep anybody happy. Who do you need to keep happy other than yourself? You're selfish. It's just you that you care about. So self-reflecting, being like, well, there's the rest of the world out there. And it comes with environmental play, like being, eco-friendly and all that kind of stuff. In all assets, like reflecting, I think it must be the starting point there. So
yeah, no, one of the things I always tell people, in whether it's a training or anything, I always ask, what's the first thing you're willing to do? Because if I know the first thing you're willing to do, I can start to piece together where things are in your life based on what you're willing to do and what you're releasing yourself to do. That's the other part. Have you given yourself permission to go there? And we need to do that just as much as when I ask Jaco, when I ask you for feedback about this session or anything like that, I have to be prepared for the good, the bad, the indifferent. Like, I can't ask blindly just because it sounds nice. Like, and that's what happens in society today is we ask because we think that's what's supposed to happen.
Good to see. Yeah, it's supposed to happen. Exactly.
Right. And so what we need to do is when we really model authenticity is when we ask a question, here's a crazy concept. I know it's going to be wild for the listeners. When you ask a question of someone, listen. Wait for a response.
Yeah. But there's a difference, I think, Lawrence, waiting for response, listening.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is very, very interesting to me. I love you said that. I love it. So here's the thing. Came to this, a big dream of mine, working on it, on-air personality. I love connecting. I think there's a very specific art in connecting with an audience through a camera lens. It's not just like, hey, I'm showing up like, whatever. I really think that, there's connecting with an audience. I think it's a special skill to have. And I love refining that skill. And I went to hosting classes in Los Angeles, and it was amazing. And I learned so much. And that is believe it or not, it was a huge part of my development. Being open, being vulnerable, being real. And bringing it back to the listening thing, if you're co-hosting with somebody and you're working with somebody on air, and this should be in everyday life, this should be the conversation. But if you're on TV or on a web series or something, it's so much more important because people are watching you, not just the other person you're in conversation with. And you would sit there and you would ask, so you'll have your opinion about something that's happening in the world, and then your co-host might just, as soon as you stop talking, continue with their thought and moving on. So it's a very unrelatable, unconnected conversation. Yeah. Whereas the feedback always was, listen. If you want to be an amazing on-air personality, if you want to be an amazing host, if you want to be good at this, just shut up and listen. Okay. Sorry, I don't know this is
no,
okay.
It's all good, man.
That was the harsh.
Shut up is clean. Shut up is clean.
Yeah, that was the harshness of what came through. It's like, just And it's like people are like, yeah, okay, yeah, I'll listen, no worries, I'll listen. It's so much easier said than done. And I know it because I had to work through it for 4 years. I like broke down those walls because you're so obsessed with your own opinion and your own this and that, which is a good thing because you need to have an opinion, right? You need to be able to have a point of view and opinion because you need to stand for something and somebody and you want to be something. But if you aren't listening, and I'm not talking about the on-air world, and I'm talking about just your wife or anything anymore, any relationship, like how can you actually solve the problem? If you're just obsessed with your own point of what the problem is. And I find it with myself and my wife right now. I'm going to be vulnerable once again, right? It's like if you're in an argument, you know, it's so quick-witted. And also being on it like boom, 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 going. And sometimes you're like, whoa, let's just really hash out like, what is the issue here? Like, let's communicate, because maybe you're offended or you're like, you know, I feel really, hopefully your audience can relate. I feel, you know, I'm just going to say my point of view. And like, and if she replies to why that she might have happened, it's like, yeah, but instead of just, okay, so you feel like this because this happened. So if I really just take a second with it and chew on it, like, okay, so I believe you that you feel that way and that this happened. So, you know, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Listening.
Man, it's all about holding space. It's all about holding space, man. So I'm glad we went there, right? I'm glad it steered its way towards holding space to listen. And to me, if we want to circle back around and we kind of put a pin and tail on this donkey, is that living in a world, talking about wine, at the end of the day, we all need to figure out how to be more inclusive. And I believe listening is how we get there. We got to show up for people and hold the space so they feel seen, heard, and they feel valued, right? Shout out Brene Brown. I always dovetail that in, right? Well, Jaco, thank you so much, man, for being here today. I want people to find you. I want people to connect with you. I want people to support your small business. How do they find you?
Thanks, Lawrence. It was amazing being here. Like I said already, I think twice. This is a pretty amazing concept, and you're doing a good job. People can find me if you're new to wine. If you want to learn about wine in a safe space, in a place. You know, I'm not a sommelier. I'm a winemaker, so I come from that perspective. You can find me at grapeunknown.com. Don't get that one wrong. Grapeunknown.com. Grape Unknown is also the Instagram handle, and you know, on Facebook you can find us under that handle. So yeah, that's where people can find us. And there on our website you can do a free tasting live with me, just like this. You can book it for free, so you can get to know me a little bit better, see what we're about. If you want, you know, or there's a pre-recorded tasting that you can do if you want to do it on your own time. So yeah, you can definitely connect with me. Super simple, super easy. grapeunknown.com.
That's awesome, man. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you for the gift of you and waking up early from California to hang out with me and my audience. So you have an open invitation. Anytime you want to jump on here, man, let's do some verbal banter.
I love it.
And let's get into it.
Thank you, Lawrence. I really appreciate it. Like this, you can, if anything, hopefully came from this podcast, it's me getting up at like 6 o'clock this morning, which should happen in anyway, right? But so much more came from this podcast, and I really appreciate you. I'm sure the audience is going to find so much value in this, and so did I. So I know that's a fact. So really, thank you for what you're doing. This was really awesome. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.